Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I'm Danny. I'm the enrollments manager here at the King's College London team at FourthRev, and I'll be your host today. Considering your interest in this topic, you're probably already aware that product management is one of those rare careers that lets you blend strategy, creativity, problem solving, and leadership. And with AI reshaping the way products are built and launched, it's also a career that's evolving fast. Whether you're exploring product management for the first time or looking to sharpen your skills for a career move, today's session is designed to give you practical insights and direction. We'll break down the skills that matter. We'll explore how AI is actually useful in PM roles, and we'll show you what steps you can take to become the kind of product manager that companies are actively looking for right now. So let's get started. The partnership between King's College London and FourthRev brings together the best of university education and industry best practices to design and to deliver career accelerators. It's a learning model that's purpose-built to fast-track careers. These career-focused online programs equip learners with the deep and varied knowledge, the practical skills, and recognition required to unlock tangible results in the job market. In support of the goals of the Career Accelerator, events like this one were created to inform and to inspire potential learners about their field of interest. Today, what we're going to cover is the current product management landscape, challenges and opportunities that lie within that, the state of AI and what it means for your PM career, the evolving product manager and why it's not all about AI, and how to set yourself up to thrive in the future. We've got a really exciting panel with us today that's a combination of past learners and industry experts and insights, and I'm going to call on them to introduce themselves today, and then we'll get into some Q&A sessions throughout the webinar and leave some space at the end to direct any questions from the audience to them.
So, hello everybody. My name's George Breen. I am a senior product manager at a company called Bizarre Voice. And I went through this program around 2 years ago, using it as an accelerator for my career. Today, I lead a whole capability from Bizarre Voice's Belfast office, overseeing the core engines of social commerce. And one of the products I look after would be our AI answer assistant product that I'm currently working hard to develop. And I'm excited to be here today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Camila, and you will not find a product management in my job title anymore. I am an associate principal at Hyphen, the professional service company, where we are building tailor-made cross-functional teams for clients working on projects ranging from strategy to implementation. And in contrast to, I would say, classical standard market projects, our programs are very typically expert-led. So depending on challenges we face for the clients, we bring together different teams of people, from consultants to designers to technologies and different subject matter experts. And this is actually what I do, based out of Europe, but working a lot in Middle East. I'm one of those. I would say I did the accelerator, and I would be one of those very classical, I would say, candidates who came from far variant of international relations, switched to business management consulting, then to product, now sort of back to consulting in between, but maybe I will touch upon it later on about how all of this product management actually brings together. And happy to be here as well, as it always is in the line of all the podcasts or web series.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alice Draper. I'm one of the career coaches here at FourthRev. I started off my career in various leadership positions and spent quite a big chunk of my career in leadership positions. And then changed my career to be a career coach a few years ago. And I've been at FourthRev for 3 years. And I have worked that whole time in the product management career accelerator. So I've seen many people get into product management, whether they are advancing their career or, complete changes or starting out their career. So I've seen many, many different people get to their outcomes that they want to get to. I'm based in London, and I'm really excited to meet everyone.
Thank you so much for those introductions. I'm really excited to get into the series and also get into picking your brains with some questions as we get through this. But let's start with a clear overview of the job market. It's been tough. There's no denying it. The average product management role now attracts about 250 plus applications. Across the UK, overall job postings are still down 5% year on year, and product management recruiters are also under pressure, needing to interview 20 candidates and spend about over 30 hours per candidate. So, yes, this is real. The competition is real. But there is some good news, and there have been some changes on the horizon. In February alone, UK product management listings jumped 21% month on month. And that's not a small fluctuation. That's really a meaningful rebound signal. Remote product management roles are also up 43% over the last 6 months, suggesting flexibility and access to improving again. And then there's AI. Job postings require AI skills of about up to 70% year on year. That tells us something important. Demand is shifting, especially toward product management managers who can confidently work with AI-powered products and teams. So while it can feel crowded, we're not in a shrinking market. We're in a resetting one. And resets create opportunity, particularly for candidates who understand what's changed and how to adapt accordingly. So, as we move forward, we'll explore how to position yourself and to stand out in this next phase of product management. But before we do that, let's chat to our panel. George, from your perspective, what's the biggest misconception product managers have about the job market right now?
For me, the biggest misconception is that sort of 5.6% drop in job postings means that the market is closing. From where I'm standing, it's not shrinking, it's reskilling or resetting, as you said there. You can see that with the 70% AI skill demand growth year on year. In 2026, I don't think we're hiring PMs anymore who can just ship a roadmap or operate a feature factory, as is commonly termed in the industry. There's a move towards more strategic, or you could suppose they call them ecosystem PMs, so people who can manage multiple independencies at once. For me, in my environment, a feature PM would be someone who just ships a roadmap without a great deal of critical thinking. And they would certainly flounder, I think, in today's market, as they'd lack the strategic fluency to see how a change in a data structure, for example, could directly impact our AI answer assistant's ability to remain authentic and trusted. So yeah, I think it's more about the market wanting strategic PMs who can handle cross-functional dependencies going forward, as opposed to those managing a roadmap.
Yeah, naturally it's evolving in that direction. So it's good to hear your perspective on that as well. Thanks, George. Camilla, when you were navigating this market yourself, what felt most challenging and what helped you stay focused rather than overwhelmed?
Yeah, a good question. Well, I have to say that fortunately, I really didn't have to go through this process in the past 2 years of searching for a new role. And during this, I would say, most difficult phase of the market, but I did really experience personally how market change how conditions can change the type of work that you're doing. So, for instance, I was very deeply involved in product development of our internal product, which we hope to scale. But because of the market conditions, the company decided to scale back and not to further invest too much of product efforts into this product because of these changing conditions. So I really had to refocus my work. So I came back a lot into consulting and doing much more commercial and program and design work, basically serving much more clients. But what really it reinforced in me was that roles and their requirements can sometimes change much faster than the skill set. And I think this is a bit of a challenge um, when it comes to market and applying for roles, and especially when people look only on the job title that you have had at a certain time and how many years that you have spent somewhere. But really, what I find, if you look at people not only as job titles and what did they do and how much they spend somewhere, but rather look at their skill sets and look at your skill sets, it can be just much more powerful. Because for me, coming and working across industries, product thinking includes structuring problems, prioritizing what matters, designing solutions related to value because you're continuously looking for value. And this is something that turned out to be really, I would say, useful for me outside of traditional product roles. And I think also today it's very relevant when we talk about AI because we see a lot of job titles right now. We are looking for AI product manager. But in reality, integrating AI into your work should not really depend on what's your job title or whether you have implemented it before. So, because AI will basically very simply become part of how everyone works. So my advice would be in general, like when you get this market and how you look, see a position for AI product role or something with I don't know, don't wait for this to appear right now in your job description or you go and apply for these roles. Really look at the problems that your team, your company is struggling with and start experimenting maybe with how AI could help you solve them so that you can get the edge and then go forward with that. So this is maybe something that would be my advice.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that that's really good advice. And I do hear that time and time again is don't wait, but start exploring and get creative with AI and how it can make your role um, more efficient and effective. Alice, when product managers come to you feeling stuck or discouraged, what's the most common gap you see between how they present themselves and what employers actually want?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I would say that when I'm working with people, they're doing the career accelerator. So they're building the skills that they need to build in order to be successful product managers. So we know that they've got the skills there, but often they get very put off by looking at job descriptions and seeing like, oh, needs 5 years experience or that kind of thing and feeling like, oh, I'm never gonna get a job when, I'm up against people with lots of experience. And the ones that I see that are getting roles quicker and are kind of and successful in getting the roles they want have a different type of mindset, and they're really kind of believing that they're coming, even if they're coming from something different and they're changing their career, that they're bringing something that is important, and they're really good at translating their skills. So a product manager would totally get that. Yes, you've come from a different career, but actually I can totally get that a lot of your skills were very similar to what a product manager does. So kind of that it's that mindset and that confidence that sometimes I can see people are kind of discouraged and stuck. And that is something that as career coaches we work with everybody on in order to have more confident mindset and really believe that they are coming from experience, no matter where they're coming from, and that the career accelerator is helping them fill in the gaps that they maybe are missing, and also how to kind of explain the career accelerator when they are kind of in doing their CVs and their LinkedIn and all that, so people really understand what kind of experience that they're coming from.
Thanks, Alice. I do think product managers or product management is one of those careers where there are a lot of tangible skills and overlap with past careers, and why it's sometimes such a natural progression or next step for someone. So it's good to hear that they have the support through the career coach on how to position or how to market that component of their experience, and they're not necessarily starting from scratch.
Absolutely.
Over the past year, AI fluency has shifted from a nice to have to a baseline. Job postings require AI skills. They're up 70% year on year, and more than half of product managers say that AI is now a must-have skill for the role. The reason is simple. It has practical benefits. Research from McKinsey shows that generative AI can lift PM productivity by around 40%, accelerating research, improving documentation, speeding up prototyping, and shortening the time to market. Let's be clear about something. AI fluency doesn't mean you need a PhD in machine learning. It's about using AI to research faster, to write sharper PRDs, to test prototypes, and to ship features quickly. Importantly, it's proving that you can link AI to business impact, not just know that the tools exist. George, what does AI fluency actually look like for PMs today in practice and not just in theory?
I think it's a very good question. It could warrant a very big answer, but I'll try and be brief because there's a lot of different considerations I would think about here. It's the difference between using AI and managing an AI driven outcome. So I agree with the quote on the slide there. Um, it's good. Product managers today need to be able to connect AI to business outcomes, and that is definitely key. It's becoming so ingrained and so expected everywhere now from the clients who use our products. And so it's becoming so much par for the course that people will have worked with or on some form of AI. As Camilla said earlier, AI is becoming part of how everybody is working now. The kind of questions that spring to mind when assessing somebody's sort of AI fluency for me would be, how are you using it to drive the business goals? What evidence can you give? How does this ladder up to your company products, whatever it may be, their North Star? What strategic outcomes have you delivered? But as a product manager as well, AI fluency is also being able to work out how can AI provide value to specific friction points, clients, users, the business sees today. Um, for a concrete example, my products at Bizarre Voice, fluency would also mean understanding the data pipeline from our ratings and reviews over to our questions and answer apps and ensuring the AI isn't just hallucinating, but providing authentic answers. Um, and I think it's also really important to recognize as well that AI fluency doesn't mean you're going to know all of the answers straight away or be able to validate your ideas as quickly as a feature release might be validated. It's knowing that developing AI products can often largely be a process of experimentation to drive the needle towards a sort of intended or North Star outcome that this product is trying to achieve. So, as an example, we've an AI product that's been in a pilot phase for the past 5 quarters, and we've been nowhere near the North Star, and experimentation has been slow and engineer resource reliant. When I've took over, we've switched it up to what's the lowest code approach to validating hypotheses? What do we think is the lowest effort for the highest reward? And from that, creating a prioritized experimentation roadmap, where engineering resources only required once validated. And just by doing that, we've seen a North Star metric double in just a quarter. So I do think AI fluency is knowing how to work with these products and developing them in a specific and agile way where you don't have all the answers or data up front, but you have hypotheses to validate or invalidate. And I think someone mentioned it earlier, like one thing as well, I think to recognize is that AI fluency could also be about how can I use AI in my career to accelerate outcomes, crucially not outputs. So, for example, it's not cheating to use generative AI, ChatGPT, Copilot, to write sharper PRDs and things like that. But you do have to recognize as part of that fluency that they do have their limitations. They can hallucinate, they can produce AI soup sometimes, but they can provide a good starting point. Not necessarily a magical answer you're always looking for, but if you have a level of AI fluency in knowing that they can hallucinate or require some prompt engineering, then they can still be a perfectly valid automation tool to accelerate your route to an outcome.
Thank you for sharing that insight, George. And absolutely, that's spot on about AI fluency and what it can mean for product management. Um, in the Career Accelerator, we do touch on AI. And Camilla, I'm going to ask you here, how did AI show up during the program for you, and how has that changed the way that you approach your work now?
So I think when I was doing the accelerator, the AI was just mostly booming. So of course, everyone tried to implement it a lot, right, into the program and into their work and try to show how they work using the latest technology. Now, I would say, when you want to show what is the impact of the work that you have done and how does it actually matters because you want to communicate the work that you have done to someone else, you really have to try to make sure that you are very concrete and show that you have understood what was the problem. And that was, I think, for us at the Accelerator, very important because while everyone was trying to use AI, we had to really scale back and ask ourselves, do we really need to use AI to address this problem? Because using it, while it might sound fancy and everyone wants to deploy the technology, it might not be actually the additional help of like deploying this technology, I would say, for the solution itself. So I think that was something how oftentimes AI came into our discussions during the accelerator. Sorry, did I address the whole part of your question or?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That was great. Thanks for those insights. Let's see how AI fits into the broader range of skills that help a product manager stand out today. So while we know that AI is incredibly important for product managers today, there are some related and unrelated areas that can't be ignored. We're seeing a shift from purely tactical product management to more strategic, leadership-oriented positions. Companies are looking for product managers who can integrate technologies like AI into products and into processes, drive data-informed decision-making, link activity back to business impact, and balance technical expertise with really strong soft skills regardless of what stage of your career you're at, using your professional profiles like LinkedIn to showcase how you've met these expectations is a smart next step. It can also help you to identify where your gaps are. Let's move to take a look at the part of the skill set that focuses on proving impact and how that relates to the skills that PM companies are now preferring. These evolving expectations are very closely linked to what kind of product managers companies want. A few years ago, hiring managers said that they were prioritizing big new product bets, but by 2024, that number had dropped to just 16%. Companies aren't gambling right now. They want product managers who can squeeze more revenue, more efficiency, and more customer value out of existing products. That's why demand for senior product managers has risen 13% year on year. Employers need people who can show that they're plug and play and impact driven and able to run lean. So the message is, if you want to stand out, you need to be able to demonstrate how you've delivered impact with fewer resources, not just pitched bold new moves. It's not enough to say that you know new tech like AI exists and how it applies in theory. Hiring panels now start by asking, show me the metric you moved. As a result, it's important for you to take that work that you've done and translate it into business impact stories that are backed by data. It's something we cover in the Career Accelerator through frameworks, through data storytelling, and through project work. George, when you are hiring or reviewing product manager candidates, what's an example of a metric or an outcome that genuinely makes someone stand out in the pile of CVs that you get?
I do think it's all about, as you may have mentioned, what outcomes you've shipped and how did you get there. I think in a feature factory, as I talked about earlier, anybody can ship a roadmap. The PMs who would stand out to me would be the ones who can articulate the impact of their work. I look for candidates who don't just use analytics, but who interpret them to prove they've moved the needle or a needle that actually matters to the business. Um, Specifically, I would look for sort of a narrative of quantified results. So these could be things like commercial viability, how did the product change influence the purchasing decision, or operational efficiency, how have you used keep it on topic, AI as an automation to solve a genuine friction point. Um, within Bizarre Voice, if a PM showed me that they'd increased answer velocity in our Q&A app, for example, that's an output. But if they showed me how that velocity fed into our answer assistant to drive, I don't know, a 12% revenue increase per user is on the screens there. That's strategic fluency, and that's the kind of thing you'd be looking for. PMs need to be able to connect the dots between a technical change in a data structure and a bottom line business impact. If you can't tell me the so what behind your metrics, to me that's not managing a product. That's managing a backlog.
Yeah, that's quite impactful words, George. Thanks for sharing that with us. Camilla, can you share an example of how you've had to translate your work into a clear impact story, especially when results mattered more than the job titles?
Yeah, I think actually George did it just two questions before, right? When you were mentioning how you managed to move certain metrics and how it had impact on business. So for me, that would be actually a very good example of that. Which really shows that, what you quickly learn is that when you communicate your work, you should always make the impact very concrete. So none of this that I'm saying is anything really new, and it's just very proven framework is that always structure it around the three elements or star framework or whatever you want to use, right? But always mention what was the problem, what was the intervention that you designed, and what changed as a result. Of course, if you then want to give it a flavor, you can mention what type of obstacles that you had to overcome because every situation is different. But I think that I would really try to, whenever possible, measure the outcomes and how they relate to the business, because this is something that makes the story much more clear. And I would say sometimes it's also helpful to start with the outcome first if you want to have the trigger, and always think like, who is your audience? Who are you talking to? Is it someone very, very senior who maybe is there in the business, does not really understand the metrics? So you might have to think, how do you help them to understand what is the work that you have actually done? What did it mean? If you especially have a chance to, I would say, explain yourself very briefly. But sometimes when you say, what does it mean even to move 12% revenue per user? I mean, is it a big number? Is it a small number? I don't know. Like, you need to really embed this in the story and try to really showcase this. Even if you tell me that you increased, I don't know, something by 100%, is it from, I don't know, 4 to 8? Why should I care about this number? So that's something for me, really how you do this and how you should really position yourself for every single thing. So when you look at your CVs, when you share it, don't focus on the process, focus on the outcome. Maybe sometimes share less, rather more. And this is something that can help you to, I would say, really translate your work, what you have done, to communicate it outside.
Thanks for sharing. I think that's really where the soft skills of being a product manager also kind of shine, and being able to
Exactly.
paint
Yeah.
the bigger picture to your audience, exactly as you mentioned. Alice, realistically, not everyone has the perfect metrics. How can candidates better show the impact on their CVs or on their LinkedIn profiles when this is the case?
Yes, I always think when Camilla was talking all about this, I was thinking of the career changers that are thinking, oh, but I don't have any of this experience or whatever. And this is where, as career coaches, we come in to kind of support you there. Um, and as I said before, there will be some translation that you might have to do, and the kind of projects that you might have worked on in the past in a completely different career, there may be some way that we can kind of translate it in a different way. Star stories, obviously, are kind of a really important way to show impact because you're showing the result, as Camilla did mention. But it does sound, sometimes it sounds like there's a lot of information that you need to put on a CV, and that's not always You can't always do that. So we also work on kind of what you're known for, kind of that personal brand. So you can stand out in a CV, and your kind of authenticity can stand out on a CV, which sometimes is difficult to do. So we do work on that as well. And there's other things we work on. So you have the opportunity to create a portfolio in the Career Accelerator based on some of the projects that you will work on in the Career Accelerator, and we can support you there where you actually do get to show proper impact of the work that you've done and the work you've done on the employer project as well. And you can kind of talk a lot more about it on there. And just also kind of coming back to kind of showing impact on a CV and LinkedIn and stuff like that. Sometimes, and this is kind of aimed, I know we have a lot of people from loads of different backgrounds, but this is aimed at kind of career changers and starters, is you're not gonna, it's important that you start kind of building connections in the product world, because actually sometimes it is better to explain it, like explain it to someone what your CV means, and that what your background and what that means. And we see that more and more that kind of it's almost really high percentages of jobs are being filled through human connections. So building those kind of connections in the product world is a really important thing, a skill that we will be kind of supporting you on as career coaches, having that kind of networking strategy, which sounds scary, but it's absolutely something that everybody can do. I had somebody just last week. She lost she was a product manager. She lost her role because her company went into administration, so she kind of was made redundant within a week. Because she had some amazing contacts and amazing kind of network, she got another role, and within a week it was amazing. And the role was never advertised either, so it was just her reaching out to people and that kind of thing, which meant that she could jump into another role really, really quickly. So that is something that kind of beyond the CV and beyond kind of making sure that you're showing impact is something that we would support you with as career coaches.
I think that goes to show that's the bigger picture, right? That we keep talking about, being able to show all of that. Portfolios aren't always mandatory for product manager roles, but a crisp portfolio or a strong LinkedIn profile really can help cut through the stack of many applications. Think of this as a proof pack. So it's case studies, quantified results, transferable skills from roles like marketing or project management or software engineering, and even an AI demo link. It doesn't need to be flashy. It just needs to be clearly show that the value that been able to create. We'll talk in a bit on the next slide about how the Career Accelerator helps you to build your digital portfolio of evidence with real world projects, work, and guidance from your career coach. But let's quickly ask a few more questions to our panel before we get into that. Camilla, what's one concrete change you made to how you positioned yourself after completing the program that you feel made the biggest difference?
Okay, I think it'll play to echoes of what Alice was often highlighting throughout the session, and that is, I would say, break the barriers of your thinking, or I don't know how exactly Alice phrased it, but one important shift for me was actually to stop defining purely through a specific role, like product management. And I think that was very important, as I mentioned before, in times when requirements per role or something changes so fast. So instead, I started framing my work around the problems that I help organizations to solve. And also, the more senior I was growing, this started to make much more impact in the way I communicated my work. Rather than, yes, you have the accelerator, you have the credentials, certain of what you do, but you really rephrase your experience differently because no one is doubting it anymore. So you don't have to lead with that. And this mindset actually opened up me to many more opportunities because I became not only involved in product development, but in designing services, structuring some of the programs, and building cross-functional teams, which are really necessary for any role. So big part of this is really take ownership, maybe sometimes beyond the boundaries of your role whenever you can. Um, but to be honest, it started for me even before I joined the Accelerator. So before that, we started to build our internal or the SaaS platform Kronos, which we did not have in organization before, and we decided to build it instead of buying it for, I would say, invoicing, timekeeping, and expenses for contractors because it really fitted the business model which we had. And it was me coming from management consulting background a bit to our senior leadership, like, hello, please give me this role because I can do this. And then we hired the team from the scratch, and I had to learn some of the things by myself, which later on became validated by Accelerator much more. So I would say it really shows that you can expand, especially if you want to. So don't be limited again by what your role is, but think in problems, I would say. And by that, I don't mean to be negative, of course. So for me, the biggest change is moving from this is my role to this is really the problem that I can help to solve.
I like that. If someone, Alice, maybe this is a question for you. If someone was getting interviews but not necessarily getting offers, where do you usually see things breaking down? Is it the CV? Is it in storytelling? Is it in interview performance? What's kind of a common thread there?
Yes. So I wouldn't necessarily say it was a CV because they're getting the interview. So they obviously like the CV to want to go further with the interview. But what I would say is it kind of the storytelling and the interview performance, I guess, is the kind of in one. And that is that you want to. When you are, when you are answering questions, you want to really give a very good structured approach in your, in your answer. You want to talk about an example and you want to structure it in I mean we talked about the STAR method before. If anyone doesn't know what it is, situation, task, action, result. A lot of the time people will talk about what happened and even talk about the actions but kind of forget the result, and when you do kind of finish with that result, it just shows way more impact. So working on the storytelling of each of your kind of, we call them kind of career stories, is a really important way to kind of get a standout in an interview. And actually, once you start talking about these kind of really good stories that, believe me, everyone will have and we will get out of you as career coaches. And when you start talking about them, you then will, people will start remembering you. Oh, I remember that story. And so the art of storytelling is very, very key here. So that is absolutely, I would say, an important factor. And also preparing the kind of students we work with for interviews as well. And I know the course does lots of preparation for, because there's always going to be technical questions to think about and prepare for, as well. So I would definitely say storytelling is number one. And also going back to that personal brand, thinking about how you stand out and what, if someone was coming away from the interview and they would think, remembering you, what would that one thing that they would remember you by? Because often interviewers, they won't necessarily remember all the detail, but they'll remember kind of how you made them feel, if they fit, if they felt like you could fit in a team with them. So it's important to kind of, get them to understand what you are like as a person and, how you work and those kind of things. So that is absolutely something that I'd say is important. So an interviewer can come away and be like, I absolutely got this person. I can tell that they've worked brilliantly in a team. I can tell that they've got the skills for a product manager position. But through storytelling is how you kind of do that. So yeah.
It really, again, comes down to the whole picture, doesn't it? Just putting, giving all the context to everything.
Yeah.
George, if a product manager had to improve just one thing about their profile or their portfolio this year, what do you think it should be and why?
So for me, I think in terms of one change to your your portfolio profile would be to stop listing uh, um, stop giving a list of projects and start creating a narrative of strategic ownership. So in that competitive market where recruiters are filtering through the 250 applications per role, the PM who shifts the backlog or a project manager, as you might be portraying yourself, becomes invisible. To stand out, it's good to demonstrate a hierarchy of impact. So this means showing how your specific problem or project wasn't just a task you completed, but a strategic lever that moved a larger business objective or capability forward. It would be proven that you can balance human centricity with data hardness. The market is currently undergoing that flight to quality. The PM who can prove that they managed a product by thinking about the interconnected health of an entire ecosystem, or I will always be a PM who only managed that backlog, as I keep saying. So it's good to show that you've not just followed a roadmap and shipped features and worked on projects. It's better to show that you can architect one that drives a business outcome. So that would be the single biggest shift, I would say, in terms of how you present your portfolio or profile.
Thanks for sharing that. And no easy task or feat on your own. So, really good when you have support either from a mentor or a career coach. And that's something that the Career Accelerator can offer you, which is great. And I'm really thrilled to be able to talk about it. The Career Accelerator has undergone its annual refresh. So, here's a broad overview of what we've covered today and how it is reflected in the program. As part of the refresh, AI has been deeply integrated into the curriculum. Throughout the program, you'll be shown how to use AI-enabled workflows for product management, for example, using AI to create prototypes, building a prompt library, creating PRDs, and more. The final employer project allows you to prove impact by working in teams to solve real business problems and presenting your case to stakeholders. So you're basically practicing as if you are a product manager at the company. You'll also be able to apply uniquely human capabilities throughout the learning experiences. So you work with data, you work with real people to ask the right questions, you collaborate across functions, and you interpret what you're seeing to drive tangible results for the business. Your ongoing project work combined with career coaching sessions allows you to build proof of what you're capable of and work with professionals to refine how you present yourself to the world. Let's quickly look at what the module topics look like, and then we'll move into a live Q&A where we'll get to answer some of the audience's questions. The Career Accelerator is completely online and requires around 12 to 15 hours per week of your time. The course is structured purposely to design and reflect how real product managers grow on the job. The program itself is 6 months in total duration. For the first course, you'll build job-ready PM fundamentals in just 6 weeks. You're learning the complete product lifecycle from discovery to delivery while using AI to accelerate your work from day one. In the second course, that's where you'll deepen your expertise with advanced techniques in data, design, and delivery that enable you to operate autonomously within real product teams and to be able to leverage AI for smarter execution. The third course, you'll develop a strategic thinking for commercial acumen and leadership presence that distinguishes senior product managers, including how to evaluate and to manage AI-powered products reasonably. And in the final course, the employer project, you'll apply everything that you've learned from course 1, 2, and 3 and set it against a real company and a real company's challenges to find product-focused solutions. That's an overview, but if you want more specific details about what's covered in the Career Accelerator, the best thing you can do is to book a call with your enrollment advisor so that they can chat to you about your transferable skills, what your goals are, and the outcomes that you're expecting from the program and how this program can support those. Camilla, can you give us an idea of what your experience on the Career Accelerator was like and what did you enjoy most about it?
Well, there is, of course, the honest or the perfect experience, or answer to this question, right? Um, so I would say what I think that I valued the most was the time eventually that I get to spend with my team. So I really like the employer project that I think was for me the most valuable experience of like being thrown together in a group of very blended group of people coming from different backgrounds and trying to really fit this into our lives and work together. So you really got to, I would say, experience what sometimes how product management can be even messy, especially when you have random teaming. Um, but overall, like I would say, the final presentations, getting there and having the more experience, thinking through the solution, because everyone had different maybe idea. You really have to get other people on board with your idea. So it was very, really realistic on like how it can work. And even maybe much more because in traditional company settings, some people come with already certain auras, maybe how strong they are, argumentative. What do you think? Like whose opinion goes and whose doesn't. But in this case, it really started all at the same level, and you needed to try to persuade the others about different solutions. So I think that for me, that was the experience that I valued the most.
Thank you for sharing that insight with us. I do want to let the audience know about something that we are currently offering, and we want to offer it to our audience early before we kind of launch it to a greater crowd. But if you can apply and secure your deposit and secure your space on the program before the 30th of March, you'll unlock two 90-minute interview training sessions with an expert product coach, James, based on real product interviews with proven success. It's a really great opportunity to take advantage of if you are looking to transition or advance or progress your career within product management. James comes with a wealth of experience and has worked with our learners before. So if that sounds good to you and that the program sounds aligned with what you're looking for, you just need to apply and pay your deposit by the 30th of March to qualify. I do want to let you know that spaces on this training session are extremely limited, as are places in our career accelerator. Um, April is just around the corner. This year is flying by faster than I can keep track of. So really don't want you to miss out. We had learners that missed out on our previous intake in February, and so we're almost at capacity for our April intake. So if you are interested, lock in these interview labs, lock in your application, speak to your enrollment advisor, and find out a little bit more about the program. But we'd be excited to welcome you onto the program. That brings us to the Q&A session. I'm going to open the box and I will ask the questions and direct it to our panel. But if you feel that I've left something out or that you feel better suited to answer the question, please go for it. But we have a question from Johnny. Are there any AI tools or platforms you personally find most valuable for product management work right now? George, I think I might call on you to answer this question. What's your favorite AI tool or platform at the moment?
Sure. So the one we would use, or I see used most often, is probably the most basic. It's just like a Chat GPT or a Google Gemini. Really good source of acceleration. One thing I always caution is that they are a good starting point. So I would never trust it writing a whole PRD for me, example, but it can help with analysis, it can help with summarization. So that would definitely be the one I would see used most predominantly. The other places where they probably creep up for me is other tools we would use having some form of AI feature. So if you're using FigJam for hosting a workshop, it would have some sentiment analysis capabilities in there. Same with Miro. So you will see it cropping up some form of copilot there to accelerate what you're doing across where I would hedge a bet and say 90% of the tools you use as a product manager will have some AI capability in them nowadays. But in terms of a standalone one that we would use is like a Google Gemini or a ChatGPT.
Mhm. Camilla, is there a tool or platform that you personally value for your work and your role right now?
I actually fully support George's opinion and everything that he shared. One small caveat that I would add, especially when you work with Claude, ChatGPT, and the others, is not apart from hallucination, is really, especially if you're new to this, I would say, environment, is train your thinking and really establish what good or success looks like because everything that comes out of these tools looks extremely persuasive, extremely structured. But once you start really engaging and critically with what maybe came out, you realize that there are gaps. It's not really very well structured. It's not messy. It does not eventually maybe make sense. And so I would say you really, especially if you're new, try to sometimes do things first on your own, think about it, how you would solve it, then try to use it. And over time, you will get faster. So, and also, the more experience you have, the better you know how to use it. And of course, like when you use them, try to use your frameworks, everything that you learn in the accelerator. Like try to approach this like I want to solve something using XYZ framework because you're already like sort of limiting or building the structure of how the tool should think. So I think Claude by now has even like a product manager clause, right? You can go there and use it. I don't know if it's in Cowork or right now. Where did I see it? But you can actually, it has embedded frameworks of how it is supposed to think. So I think that's super something that I would recommend.
So proceed with caution is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, or train
Yeah.
your thinking. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, and apply that critical lens, which is so important as you start exploring AI. Absolutely. Um, Looking back at your own transition into product management, what is the one thing you wish you had known earlier? Who wants to take that question? Camilla, George.
Sure, I can go first and
Sure.
maybe George can fill in. I think for me, it was I really underestimated or maybe how messy the product management can be a little bit. So you really rarely have perfect data, perfect alignment, or perfect timing for doing something. And a lot of your job will be just navigating in this uncertainty while really helping others to stay focused and really select one problem that you want to solve and stay committed to it. So once I really realized that in this way that progress matters more than perfection, it really changed how I approach the role.
Yep, I definitely agree. I think there's actually a quote I always remember from whenever I was on the course that really resonated with me, and that was to be a good product manager, you have to be okay with the chaos, because it obviously it oftentimes can be in terms of the uncertainties. There's not always the perfect data. So echoing what Camilla's really said there, and often you'll be working with stakeholders who want certainty and they want the data there and they're almost demanding it of you. So one thing that um, I suppose I could have wished I knew earlier was like from previous roles, the relationship management and stakeholder management really comes into play as a really big strength in product management. So if I'd had known that, I'd maybe been a bit more confident in going into it, because there is a lot of that within your role.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's great insights. George, I'm going to keep you unmuted here because this next question is actually directed at you.
Okay.
What was or how was your experience trying to change domains or fields? What were the biggest challenges? What, in general, the employer's opinion about the candidate with the AI certificate? I think it's quite similar to and aligned to what you've just answered, but I don't know if you want to elaborate more on the specifics.
Yeah, I think in terms of moving domains, that is something I've done a couple of times. I think I could be fairly industry agnostic in terms of product management. I do think that some of the challenges are, I think Alice mentioned it earlier, like translating your software skills into directly applicable product management skills, whether it's switching domains or completely stepping into product management at all. Like, it really does build that confidence, and working with your career coach to articulate it with confidence, I definitely think was a big help. Finding that golden thread between what your CV or your portfolio or your experience says and what the job is actually looking for. Sometimes that's hidden beneath the job description. So doing your research, um, it again brings all that confidence. Showing up to these interviews and really selling yourself and your experiences, knowing that you are actually directly applicable, you're not just being given a chance. They would be the biggest things that I would have noticed in switching fields or domains mostly within product management. But yeah, I would caution always, like, look at the job description. Sometimes they are going to be more niche. So sometimes if they're looking for a technical PM, you're going to have that technical background. If they're looking for a data PM, you're going to have that data analytics background. But by and large, that's not the case. Um, so I would just always caution that your skills will be applicable. It's being able to articulate that commonality, and also you can get on board and learn the products. That's not always a big blocker for the employer. It's really looking beneath your answers and what impacts you've had.
Thanks for sharing that, George. It's great to hear that and be able to pick your brain about it. I know that we have a few potential career changes in the audience, so great to understand that. We have a question about the AI technologies on the program, and it's very much an integrated approach to AI and into product management. So in this program, you use AI to accelerate, you learn how to use AI to accelerate the core of your product management work. You use AI to leverage and to make strategic AI product decisions. You strengthen irreplaceable human skills. So, how to leverage AI, but not to lose that human impact through the program, and then to apply AI strategically throughout your learning. And that's how we are integrating it into the program. Of course, it's ever changing in an ever evolving landscape. So, always great to have those kind of discussions and to speak directly with industry experts about how they are implementing it. I see we have one last question that's come in, but I don't think we actually have time to get to it. So if that attendee can actually just send us an email or speak to your enrollment advisor, we can get into it. I want to wrap up the session by saying thank you so much to our panel, Camilla, George, Alice. It was lovely to hear from you and to be able to pick your insights into product management, industry, AI, but also the career accelerator and how we can support these career transitions. To our audience, thank you so much for your time and for engaging with us. I always love hosting the product management webinars because I find the audience is usually the most willing to ask questions and the most engaging. I don't know if it's just a product of product management or interest in it. But again, if you are interested in a career transition or accelerating your career that is already existing in product management, validating existing experience, using the frameworks and leveraging them in your current roles, or aiming for a new role or a senior PM role, please speak to your enrollment advisor about if this program is the right one for you. Like I said, spaces on the program are extremely limited, and April is right around the corner. We're already almost, I would say, at a 30% capacity with another third of the program places reserved. A reservation is possible, but not secured without a payment. So speak to your enrollment advisor, book a call with them, chat to them about the program, and if it's the right one for you, they're happy to support you in that decision-making process. And again, thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.